Duel. Duel is a 2022 science fiction film written, produced, and directed by Riley Stearns and starring Karen Gillan. After receiving a terminal diagnosis, a woman opts for a cloning procedure to ease the loss for her friends and family. When she miraculously recovers, her attempts to dismantle her clone fail and lead to a court-ordered duel to the death. The film was announced in April 2020, starring Karen Gillan, Aaron Paul, Beulah Cole, and Jesse Eisenberg. However, 3 months later, Theo James replaced Eisenberg. The film was shot entirely in Tampere, Finland. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic in the United States, the film crew attempted to find a suitable location in Canada and New Zealand, but to no avail, so Finland was chosen as the filming location. Filming lasted 6 weeks, and during that time they spent the lockdown working in a beautiful place like Finland. Plot. In the near future, Sarah is a depressed alcoholic who has a mediocre relationship with her boyfriend, Peter, and is generally disconnected from her nagging mother. One day, Sarah wakes up to find a pool of blood in her bed. She goes to the doctor and discovers she has a terminal illness. The doctor admits a 2% margin of error, but insists that Sarah's death is certain. To save her loved ones from the pain of losing her, they offer her the option of cloning. Sarah looks very expressionless and can only say that she'll think about it, ultimately opting for a procedure that clones herself to take her place. Sarah calls her clone Sarah's double and gives it basic knowledge of her interests and lifestyle. It's important to mention that Sarah wanted to keep this a secret until the moment of truth and goodbye. But the double went ahead and contacted her boyfriend, and it was very noticeable that the boyfriend preferred the double. Their cohabitation was such that Peter only went out with the double now, even having sex in the apartment with Sarah there. The double warned Sarah to cover her ears because she would make too much noise during the act. 10 months later, Sarah is informed that she has inexplicably gone into complete remission and is going to live. When she arrives at her mother's house to share the good news, she finds the double there, and Sarah is enraged to discover that the double had been in contact with her mother for quite some time, against her wishes. The truth now exposed, Sarah attempts to return things to normal and demands that her clone be taken out of commission, but is thrown out of the house by both Peter and her mother and the double. Sarah is told that the double has requested to remain alive, which means that, by law, they will have to participate in a publicized duel to the death within the year for which they must prepare. But Sarah still has to pay for the creation of the double, so her life isn't looking good for now. Sarah is encouraged to take combat classes, which is a challenge since she is deeply in debt. But energized by the double's confident attitude, she is determined to take the classes and will not be defeated by a replacement. Sarah soon begins self-defense and combat classes with a trainer, Trent. Over the next year, Sarah improves both physically and mentally, learning to tolerate violence and how clone duels work. Eventually, she has no money left, so she teaches Trent hip-hop dancing as payment. Feeling reassured, Sarah meets with Peter to tell him she means no harm, but promises to kill his clone without apology. While in the middle of a test with Trent, Sarah sees her clone watching her from outside. Sarah shoots an arrow at it, and the double runs away in fear. That's right, the double was spying on her, against the court order, as they had to see each other until the duel and couldn't get close to each other. Sarah chases the double to a nearby playground. There, they talk about their situation before the double takes Sarah to a support group for people who have survived their grief. Obviously, there's trauma in survivors, and they talk about it all. Sarah tells her double that she understands why she took her there, but that she won't stop there and will kill her to reclaim the life she took. The double actually looks scared and explains that the intention wasn't to make her give up, but rather to make peace and come up with a win-win plan. They agree to escape across the border to live their lives where the laws don't apply and they can both live without problems as long as they don't return to the US. The next morning, the two walk through a forest and chat a lot, very amicably. But suddenly, Sarah double takes out some water bottles and gives one to Sarah, almost ordering her to hydrate. Sarah takes a sip of water and caps the bottle, but the double tells her it might not be enough, so she should drink more. Sarah does so, but when she looks at the double's face, she understands what's happening. They were trying to poison her, and unfortunately, she fell into the trap. Sarah finally arrives late to the duel but alone, claiming to be the original and claiming the clone has fled. After an investigation and a court hearing, where the mother swore before a judge that this Sarah was the real one, and Peter did the same, a judge declares her the original, freeing her to take over as the only Sarah. The next scene shows the mother telling Sarah that she ordered extra contact lenses for her to wear and never forget to put them on, confirming that the one who arrived was the double. However, this Sarah soon becomes as depressed and dissatisfied as the original Sarah, making you doubt if she really was the double at all. She was carrying her burdens and sorrows day after day, putting up with an overbearing mother and a stifling boyfriend. While driving, Sarah double stops in the middle of a roundabout and cries, to the point of collapse. You sense what could come next, and the film ends by showing images of that snowy forest landscape where Sarah's body is surely rotting somewhere. Comments. The end of the movie Duel shows that the clone poisons Sarah, kills her in the woods, then runs to the deathmatch arena and claims to be Sarah. She wins by default. What's interesting is that Sarah's mother and boyfriend participate in a plot against the real Sarah and later testify in court that the survivor was Sarah. While the clone appears to have won, she is now forced to continue living as Sarah, which means she has to change her personality, her tastes, like the food Sarah liked, something the clone hates, and wear contact lenses for life, a life she doesn't identify with and detests, feeling emptiness and regret for having had a better life in Canada without murder at her hands. She killed the only person who understood her. So the double became just another one of those who were in that group therapy to which she took Sarah. It's quite possible that all of this could be the basis for Sarah to collapse at some point and even attempt to take her own life, or the lives of those close to her, as we see in the final scene. Or simply do what the real Sarah did, push her mother away and break up with her boyfriend to live her own life. But this is a risk because if the government finds out, they'd accuse her of a crime, and her accomplices, Peter and her mother, would also be affected, so there's a lot of tension there. So she can't easily flee, although they can't betray her either, since they're accomplices. The only danger is the coach. He would easily know who she really is, but usually someone like that doesn't take sides, they simply stay out of it, and the relationship with Sarah ends when training is over, so communication ends. Sarah was an inexpressive person. This cost her relationship with Peter. When he had contact with Sarah's double, he was amazed because, for example, in the intimate act the double made a lot of noise, that is, she was more expressive. On the mother's side she was captivated because the double called her frequently and was more empathetic, the complete opposite of Sarah, so her two most loved ones planned to kill her just because she was not to their liking and they disliked her, although in the end the double tended to the same behaviors as Sarah, and it could be that she is more reactive and they will have to live with that from now on. Critics weren't negative about this reception, giving the film general positive reviews, especially those of Karen Gillan, which I agree with 100%, as she did an excellent job portraying two different people. But mainly because of her portrayal of Sarah, I think it was her best performance. The performance of the double was distinct while retaining Sarah's essence. That is to say, it wasn't completely contrasting, the essence was evident, which will lead to the ending, when the double will become Sarah. What did you think? Thank you and I look forward to your comments. Bye.